Alright, I'm recording this video because I'm a tech worker, and many tech workers have been experiencing layoffs, reduction in force, terminations in the last 2 years. And a lot of my friends have experienced this, and people have asked me, what should you do? And so I wanted to share my opinion about what to do when you're RIFed for tech workers. So the first thing I'm going to recommend, and this is maybe the hardest part for some people, but I'm going to recommend a multi-prong approach. Do everything. There's nothing that you shouldn't do. Some people say, update your resume. Some people say learn a skill. Some people say reach out to all your contacts, right? I'm going to say do all of those things. I have a number of friends, that have just recently gone through this, and I've got to watch this and observe their behaviors, and I see, there's that tendency. Oh, I need to decompress. That was a stressful job. I needed to take a week off, and I have to say I totally sympathize. I totally need a week off myself. But the truth is, don't do that. Wake up at the next day as if you're going to work. Put your clothes on as if you're going to work, and get started working the streets. There's going to be plenty of downtime. It's hard to find a job, and especially in this market where people have, a lot of people have been, subject to a reduction in force. It's going to be harder to find a job than maybe at other times in history. So, those downtimes might be the time when you could, take a nice walk and relax, or, spend some time at the pool or with your family. But the first thing you should do is really, beat the streets, get out there and work on finding that next opportunity. So let's go through some of the things that I would recommend, starting immediately. So the first thing is update your CV. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's organized, consistent formatting throughout. Just focus on your accomplishments, don't write sentences, and whatever you do, do not list hundreds of skills that you may have encountered at some point during your career. It makes you look like you're really not a master of any of those skills. Focus on the things that you can build or bring to the table. In a particular resume, when somebody's reviewing a resume, they're looking for what their expertise is, and they're assuming that a person that's an expert in, say, C++ programming can handle Excel spreadsheets. So there's not, a requirement for you to be, putting Excel version 7 on your resume. You just don't need to do things like that. One last tip I have, if you have access to AI chatbots, ask ChatGPT for a review of your resume. It does an amazing job, and it can spit out a pretty well formatted resume document that requires just a few changes on your part to get it finalized. Also, go through and make sure you finalized all the details with your previous employer. Don't put that off. Get the document signed. The more time that separates from you and your employer, the harder it is to remember those things. The login for your healthcare account and all those things. Make sure you have that in your password manager associated with your home contact information, so that because you may lose access to those credentials, right? Those work credentials. So if you're expecting to get, notices about healthcare and things like that from your work email, you're going to lose access to that. So you should immediately get all that stuff converted over to your home contacts, and make sure that you're storing the credentials and things like that in your password manager, so that in the future you'll be able to access to that. Obviously, if there's an agreement, have it reviewed by your lawyer, but sign it immediately as soon as you're ready and that you feel comfortable with it. Go through and submit your expenses, return your hardware, go through all that, accounts and things like that, using your personal information, sign all these agreements. That's when you should share publicly. So maybe it takes a week or something to go through that process. If you're terminated on a Friday, don't post, 10 minutes later, I've lost my job or whatever. I would wait until all the agreements and everything is final with the employer before you post anything at all, just to protect yourself. So wait to share until you finalize This is something that I think a lot of people don't really take it upon themselves to do, but it's a really good idea. So when you're in this process, right, and like immediately everyone thinks like, oh, I need a break, I need to rest, I need to spend time with my family, but this is a really good opportunity to spend the time that you have when you would otherwise be working to invest on yourself. You can use a platform like YouTube to learn languages, learn new skills, keep yourself fresh. Once you get to that interviewing phase, you're going to need fresh skills. People are going to want to know what you know and what you're learning about. So this is a great time to learn a new language that you haven't touched before. If you don't know Python, try Python. If you don't know Rust, try Rust. And I'm not saying you have to spend, days, 40 hours a week coding in Rust in your downtime, but just get exposure to it. That can keep your mind fresh. It can teach you a new skill. It might be something that gets you in the door because, maybe if you have skills as a test engineer and the company is using Rust, maybe they would like to see that, you have some predilection to learn that language. It might help you just to broaden your horizons. It can help you in interviews to mention those things. There's always this, some 25% of interviewers are going to be asking, like, what are you doing right now? Or, what have you been doing? If like a month or two goes by, you can say, I've been learning Rust. It's a great answer to the question, and it defrays some of the tension of what that question really could imply that somebody may really mean to ask. Then kind of talking a little bit more about those tests and how you'll be challenged. In most tech jobs, we're getting challenged with some sort of evaluation, whether it's take-home tests or even these HackerRank type testing platforms. So, when you have separate time and you're not like learning something new, you should really be cramming the languages And people are like, well, I'm a Java expert. I've been programming in Java for 15 years. I don't need to cram the language. And I'm just like, just really honest feedback, you do. No matter how long you've been programming in a language, the process of studying the language and cramming the language can teach you the intricacies that some of these tests depend on. You may need to access that nuanced information about how the language works quickly in one of these tests. Frequently, these tests are time tests, so, the normal programmer, they are not under time pressure frequently. Maybe it's mild time pressure due to a deadline or something like that. But these time tests might be, an hour. So you don't actually have the time to, go and leisurely, recall or look up information if you forgot some particular nuance of the language. You have to have that at your fingertips. So, what I frequently do when I'm going into an interview setting or when I need to be ready is I'll go on HackerRank and I will actually do the example problems. I don't do it in their interface. I feel like that's something I can adapt to depending on the test that I'm being given or how it's being administered. Usually what I do is I set up a nice crucible test environment in my IDE that's clean, and I set it up in Git so that when I'm done practicing I can just reset it to a clean setting. But essentially, once I have that environment, I can then just go through problem after problem after problem in my IDE, sort of understanding how to solve these problems and keeping the nuances of the language features and the nuances of things like dynamic programming fresh in my mind. Okay, the next one, take every meeting. If someone connects you on LinkedIn, accept the connection. I always do this anyway, even while I'm employed. Network with everyone. If someone wants to talk to you for 10 minutes, and, let's face it, we all deal with this. There's, recruiters who, really haven't evaluated you. They really haven't looked at your skill set doesn't match. And, you're immediately excluding in your mind, oh, this is a waste of time. Don't waste my time and just don't bother me. That kind of stuff is sort of like the default for a lot of people. But really, you should take the 10-minute meeting. You don't know what it's going to lead to. Maybe someone has sent you a job posting that doesn't apply to you, but they know of one who does, or maybe even that network. Sometimes recruiters if they don't have the ability to place you in the role that they're trying to fill, they will share your profile with other recruiters. So it makes sense to take every meeting, have every conversation, be polite, try to connect, try to network. Not every job is going to work out. And as a matter of fact, this is pretty much like much understated way to put it. The majority of jobs are not going to work out. Let's face it, you're going to interview dozens of times. New grads or people in special circumstances might be interviewing hundreds of times. I'm not joking. You're looking for someone to give you a chance. And you just need that really kind of like perfect fit for you, right? Where someone's going to offer you the option to succeed in their environment. So don't take it personal. Don't get demoralized. Sometimes, I've been in a lot of these hiring discussions, and sometimes the conversation just goes south. Somebody doesn't like the nitpick, right? And oftentimes the default answer is no. So it's like almost some of these decisions can be random no's. It's not personal. Maybe the interview just wasn't a great interview. That person wasn't feeling good when they interviewed you, or you weren't feeling good when you took the interview, something like that. So you just got to keep going through it over and over and over again until one works out. And honestly, interviewing is good practice. Talking to people, talking in front of people is good practice. And most engineers need to practice this. So I would recommend trying to keep it objective and just going through the process over and over again until you're successful. And that's, basically what I was just saying. It's annoying, right? Like, everybody wants to be at the pool. Nobody wants to be in some interview that, might not pan out or possibly wouldn't pan out. But you got to put in the work. That's how you get the job. This is what I was just saying, being in it for the long haul. It could take months. I remember when I was very young, one of my, trying to get a job, trying to get my first job, it took me I think 6 months, and I was broke. I really needed a job badly. I sold my car. I was about to move into my parents' house, and I'm sure a lot of people, especially new grads, can relate to this. And it was the weekend I was moving, and on that weekend I got a call, and I got a very good job. It was just literally down to the wire. So be in it for the long haul. It's going to work out. You have to keep your nose to the grindstone, and someone will give you a chance. Just be humble and wait for your opportunity. This kind of falls into the category of messing with your CV and getting your CV right, but have you optimized and tuned up your GitHub? Have you added projects and repos that showcase your abilities? Have you optimized and tuned up your LinkedIn? Clean up all your profiles. People are looking at that. People are looking at LinkedIn nowadays as frequently as they look at a CV. So make sure that is just clean, concise, appropriate, and has everything they need to hire you on there. Having said that, LinkedIn has become less value over the years. It used to be a great place to network. Now the quality of the networking is a little bit random. You might encounter people who are essentially just salespeople trying to sell your information, sell your profile, and usually that doesn't get great pickup. So I would strongly recommend applying directly to certain employers. Now, this isn't going to be, you're not going to know every employer, right, that's a great fit for you, but you should be able to research in your field the kind of key companies that you really are excited about. And I would recommend writing a specific cover letter and tailoring your resume to match the role exactly for what that company is hiring for. And nowadays it's great because we have AI. You can feed in the requirements and write a nice prompt to get a perfect cover letter aimed at each company, at each role. It should be, highly specific, highly customized. You should take what the AI generates and clean it up and make sure the grammar is great and clear, concise, punchy, the way that you would write, not necessarily the way the machine would write. But you can leverage that to have highly customized and targeting outreach. Now, how many times do you send in a resume like that and you just don't even hear any response, right? That is commonplace. So don't expect to hear back from every resume, every job that you apply to, but sometimes you will. I've had this, I've gotten hired this way by sending out, direct outreach letters. So it's a great way to connect with a company. And if the company sees you as a potential fit, they're definitely going to reach out to you. Something about LinkedIn that I've noticed is that if you're dormant on LinkedIn, then you kind of don't show up in people's searches. It's not that you don't show up if they were directly searching for you, but being there, being logged in, improves the number of hits. It improves the number of people kind of connecting with you. So you should work your LinkedIn, log in every morning as part of your daily routine. Check your notices, respond to people. Don't leave any LinkedIn comments quiet or dormant. Just respond to them, even if it's a no. Hey, you're looking for a test engineer, I'm a developer. Just politely respond no to everyone. And I usually always respond with a custom text. I know now LinkedIn has these buttons that you can automatically respond, and maybe it's just machines talking to machines. I think of it as like ships passing in the night, but I always send a custom notice because I feel like that's the right thing to do. And if somebody does read my message, they see that there's a person there, that I'm not just clicking no. I'm saying, well, I'm not available today, but maybe in the future we could connect. There's groups on LinkedIn and there's postings on LinkedIn. So it is an opportunity for you to get yourself out there, to expose your name and your profile. Provide positive feedback to the work that people are posting. If you're a Rust programmer, get on the Rust LinkedIn group, and people are posting their work. They're saying, hey, I just created this cool project. That's a great way for you to interact. I would strongly recommend that you only keep it positive. If there's something you don't like, which of course there's plenty of things on social media we don't like, right? Just keep it to yourself. This is not an opportunity for you to criticize or provide constructive improvement. That person can find it in other ways. If you build a relationship with that person, maybe they could get it from you directly, but don't do it on social media. I would recommend commenting appropriately and pleasantly and positively to showcase yourself. How can you work your GitHub? Now, similarly, a lot of beginning programmers, people at the beginning of their careers, and even some people who maybe they've spent some time in management, right? Your GitHub might look a little barren, right? And so this is a problem because hiring managers look at GitHub. Hiring managers look at LinkedIn. These are like the sort of the new way to get hired. And so if your GitHub looks a little barren, that might be something that's dangerous to you. If you have some downtime because you've been laid off or RIFed, go ahead and create some open source projects. And you're going to say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to create. It doesn't have to be any big deal. Create some simple examples. It depends on your specific field, right? Like if you're interested in blockchain, create a token, right? Maybe it's something that provides you some learning experience in creating tokens, and it provides other people a way to see, oh, hey, this is what this person's interested in. It provides you a way to showcase your skills, to have like nice clean code, always provide tests, always provide documentation, and people can actually find you through GitHub because they might be searching for people who write tokens, right? And so it's kind of like a phishing. It's complicated, right? Like somebody might find you on LinkedIn and then look you up on GitHub, or that kind of like overlapping, complicated strategy might lead to somebody being more interested in you, interested enough to actually bring you in for the interview. Another kind of area, if you don't have like a lot of ideas for projects you can create yourself, you can actually contribute to open source projects. So get yourself aligned to some public open source that aligns with your technical skill set and try to contribute. And the thing is, a lot of these open source projects, you can contribute documentation. Nothing is documented perfectly, right? So there's always an opportunity for that. And then, another thing is, if you're having trouble coming up with ideas for projects that you might want to create, ask a friend, like, what are some tools that you'd like to see? Or ask chatbots. Give me imagine an open source tool that doesn't exist, and then maybe you could start creating that. It gives you some food for thought, something to work on. Now, I talked a little bit about talking to recruiters, but good recruiters will know the whole market. And if you can find access and gain access to good recruiters, these people can actually help you get intel into the whole marketplace. A lot of recruiters know every single job in every single company in your field. So this is like, you can have almost like, steer the conversation in the direction of like a career building conversation. Who's good, who's bad, where are people leaving, where are people joining, what's available right now. And this can help you kind of find your direction, because it can feel very ambiguous if you've been flooded out into the market like this and you don't know what to do with yourself. And especially, like older tech workers, they can sometimes go through this like challenge of crisis, like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this the right field for me? Especially if you just got terminated or RIFed, you feel like, oh, they didn't like me, right? And we don't know what decisions go into those things. Sometimes it's just not a good fit. Sometimes it's purely a money decision. Sometimes the chemistry wasn't there, right? So oftentimes it's not as personal as it feels. So it's good to kind of have that kind of like career building insight of like, actually, this is what I want to do. Solidity programming is what I want to do, and it is something that I can contribute. It's something I can help this entire marketplace with. And I can bring good sound code that other people don't, bring as a normal course of habit. So it gives you, it helps you with that identity that's taken a punch by getting RIFed. So definitely, it's good to do that networking, and it's good to work that network so that, you get information from it, and not just information about one job or one opportunity, but use and leverage great recruiters to get information about the whole space. So that's my information. I'm sure there's even more things that you could do. Keep trying, keep focusing, don't give up, don't take it personal, be objective, and eventually you'll find your place.